Look, I mean, there's no question that this administration has accomplished a lot. It's been an incredibly intense year. He came out of the blocks, you know, doing things that nobody really expected. Hundreds and hundreds of executive orders, massive pieces of legislation. By his sensibilities, this has been probably one of the most productive years of a president. You can then go to the public and say, but has it helped you? And there are a lot of questions around that.
Well, and that's what the president will be trying to speak to tonight. I would note that leaving the White House, we just saw the White House Chief of Staff, Susie Wiles. We are expecting President Trump himself and the First Lady, Melania Trump, to depart any moment now to get in the motorcade and make their way to the Capitol. It should be a short journey. And once he arrives, he'll, of course, be preparing to make his way into the House chamber, into the dais where he will give the speech. Jeannie, to go back to that excerpt I just read and what Rick was just saying about having accomplished much, perhaps, that is not yet resonating with the electorate. And I would note President Trump and First Lady Melania Trump have just walked out of the White House. They are making their way into their vehicle now and will begin the journey to the Capitol. So we are about half an hour away from the slated start time of the president's speech, and he is beginning this trip now. Jeannie, as he does so, as he makes this ride, which again should only take about 10 minutes when you're traveling with a presidential motorcade, you get to skip through all traffic. How do you think he is preparing to try to make the case that his predecessor, Joe Biden, tried and arguably failed to do, that the country is in better shape than you all seem to think it is?
Yeah, and I'm just looking, Kayleigh, at the motorcade you were just describing, and I think we forget, you know, we can't underscore enough, I should say, the stakes to which Donald Trump finds himself as he gives this speech. I mean, he is facing the reality of either a continuation of his second term, which he would prefer, or potentially having Democrats take over the House. And what is he facing then? As he himself has said, he is facing investigations and potential impeachment. So to me, I'm trying to think of a time when the stakes were higher as a president left the White House to head to the Capitol to give this kind of speech. And of course, what the president is trying to do, to your point, is the same thing Joe Biden was trying to do, which is to convince the American public that he is leading them down the right economic path. But it is terribly difficult to convince people of something they're not feeling. And what I've heard from people behind the scenes is that he is going to say, we're headed in the right direction and we are headed towards the best 3 economic years in this country's history. And that would be very much in keeping with a Donald Trumpian, if I can say that, type of message. But again, convincing a very skeptical and uneasy American public of that is an uphill battle for certain.
Yeah.
Well, and it's remarkable, as we just saw the president getting into his motorcade, and he's making his way actively now to the Capitol, Rick, protected by the United States Secret Service, which of course falls under the Department of Homeland Security, which currently is not funded, is technically shut down because there is an impasse between the White House and congressional Democrats over reforms to ICE that would unlock the funding. We know President Trump, according to these speech excerpts, is planning to address that. He's going to say, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. Tonight, I am demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security and homeland security of the United States. Just speak to how remarkable it is that the president is giving this address with part of the government shut down.
Kelly, you mentioned it earlier. This is the first time that a president of the United States has ever gone to the well of the House of Representatives for a State of the Union when a portion of his government has been shut down without budget authority. This is pretty extraordinary. And we have a list of extraordinary things that are happening today, and this is not one to miss, because even though 90% of the Department of Homeland Security is covered under essential personnel, which means no matter whether they're getting paid or not, they got to show up. TSA workers and others in the Coast Guard and FEMA. The reality is this is as much importance symbolically as it is practically. We've had situations where TSA workers hadn't been paid for months. In fact, in the last shutdown that was historically long. So at the end of the day, I think it's important, but we'll see whether or not he can actually get momentum from Congress to actually settle this score.
Indeed, we will. Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzana will be staying with us throughout tonight's special coverage as we take a look in the House chamber. The Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, is now entering. Just behind him, the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, and Minority Leader, Chuck Schumer, are entering the chamber as well. The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, already at the dais, having called the House into order. So we're seeing now some of the higher profile entries of some of the most senior elected officials in the United States as we await the president, who again has departed the White House and is currently en route to the Capitol, preparing to give the State of the Union speech. Other senators behind the leadership, John Barrasso, Dick Durbin, are behind them as well, as they are slowly making their way down the hall, or the passageway there, Joe. A lot of hands being shaken. You, of course, have seen a lot of their entrances from Statuary Hall, and I'm sure there is a lot of activity there now, Joe Matthew.
Yeah, Kaylee, everyone you see walking into the House chamber, J.D. Vance there, and of course the Senate Majority and Minority Leader behind him, have all walked through Statuary Hall where we are. So we get kind of a red carpet, if you will, before they enter the House chamber. Now that the Senate leadership have made their way into the chamber, a number of members of the House have, we're actually going to be looking very closely, and I suspect this room I'm in is going to get very quiet when Supreme Court justices walk through, because there's, of course, a lot of question about how the president is going to handle them or treat them or not, based on the ruling last Friday on his tariff regime. He said that they were an embarrassment to the nation and their families, those who voted against the president's tariffs. So that could bring a bit of early drama here in the speech. We'll also see top brass from the Pentagon here. And Kaylee, we're waiting to hear about a designated survivor as well. I can tell you, we saw Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, and Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, make an early arrival here. And as you can see, if you're with us on Bloomberg TV or on YouTube, Speaker of the House is already in the rostrum. To be clear, this is his party. It might be the president's speech, but the Speaker runs the show here, makes the invitations, and this is his joint session of Congress tonight.
Indeed, it was the Speaker who invited the president to make this address.
That's right.
Indeed, and Joe Matthew will continue the coverage live from the Capitol, as I will continue here in our Washington, D.C. studios, where I'm joined by Bloomberg's Mario Parker, Jeff Mason, and Bloomberg opinion columnist Nia Malika Henderson, who are all still with me as we watch the Vice President, J.D. Vance, completing his journey down the aisle as he goes to take a seat next to the Speaker of the House. They, of course, will be the ones flanking President Donald Trump when he arrives to give this speech. It's noteworthy, though, as we see, Jeff, some of the most senior leadership of the United States Senate and, of course, the Vice President making their way into the chamber, that not all of Congress is going to be attending this. We should note that there are actually dueling events being held by Democrats in somewhat of a protest of the president's speech.
Which is emblematic, really, of the politics of this city right now, right? I mean, it is not a city where both parties are working very closely together. It's a very divided town. It's a very divided electorate. And I think that we will see some of that actually reflected in President Trump's speech as well. I have heard from at least one source that the president is likely to go very aggressively against Democrats in his rhetoric tonight. And that happens in speeches, but it's not necessarily in line with the more bipartisan approach that some previous presidents have taken on a historic night like a State of the Union address.
And as the Vice President, J.D. Vance, goes up to take his seat, Nia, it's worth noting that the House Minority Leader, Hakeem Jeffries, at least according to reports, has told his members to stay in line tonight. If you're going to attend, make sure you do so in silence. Is the rule for Democrats here essentially don't cause a scene?
Yeah, essentially. And, you know, there have been occasions where members have caused scenes.
Like Al Green last year?
Al Green last year, and I believe he was escorted out and was shouting at the president as he was speaking. Hakeem Jeffries, who feels like he's got the gavel, right, in hand possibly in November, wants to present a party that the American people will elect, right, in November, wants to look like a governing sort of mature party against the backdrop of the president, who I imagine will be sort of an angry figure, because that is who this president is, particularly when he's going off script. I'm sure he's going to berate Democrats on and off script. He'll have a number of folks in the audience who will sort of speak to some of his policy preferences. So, yeah, you know, we're going to see, I think, some Democrats who are wearing white, right? That's been a tradition as well. But listen, this is going to be a very long speech. I think it's going to be a lot of what we've already heard from this president. We sort of go in with these expectations of what this president should do, and he always disappoints.
Well, as Nia's speaking, Mario, of this idea that there may be some ire directed at various groups within the chamber, sure, Democrats may be one. What about the justices of the United States Supreme Court who are literally going to be seated directly before him after ruling his use of tariffs, at least the IEEPA authority, is illegal?
Yeah, we'll see whether or not Susie Wiles and the rest of the staff are able to keep the president from some of his instincts there. We saw him lash out, obviously, at the tariff ruling that he was disappointed in last Friday as well. If you think back to last year at the State of the Union address, the MAGA sphere, if you will, the far right, a lot of them were really reading the body language of some of those justices at that time. At that point in time, Amy Coney Barrett was coming under scrutiny as well. So we'll see whether or not Trump can resist throwing some red meat to his base, but also some of his impulses as well.
Well, and Joe, you've called our attention to it several times already this evening that you're waiting to see walking through Statuary Hall, the justices of the court themselves. We have not seen them yet, but the members of the Senate are continuing to make their way into the chamber.
Yeah, it's actually, there's quite a crowd in here. Having done this for a couple of years together, Kaylee, we haven't seen this many people lining this sort of red carpet entrance where the velvet ropes are lined up and where lawmakers and now anticipating Supreme Court justices are making their way into the chamber. Lawmakers are supposed to be in there and seated by now. Usually we see reporters taking their positions just like we are at Bloomberg, but there is a line of folks waiting to see the justices enter, and I'm sure you're going to see a lot of those pictures and see that video over the course of the evening here. What the president does and says when he passes by them in those front rows is the big question right now. But we've got a bit of a logjam. If you're watching us on Bloomberg TV or on YouTube, lawmakers are literally in line. Senators are kind of just waiting to get themselves into the chamber. Then they'll all be waiting to shake hands potentially with the president here, Kaylee, because that's going to be a long walk for him. Right after the top of the hour, the Sergeant at Arms will say, "Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States," that iconic line that will begin the procession down to the rostrum. And the president will be looking closely to see who is gaming to get in line to talk to the president and who he wants to see as well, culminating with his stand before the Supreme Court justices just a short time from now.
Well, it's remarkable, Joe, that we just saw two members of the so-called Gang of Eight making their way into the chamber. The Democratic Senator Mark Warner of Virginia, Senator Tom Cotton there as well, who, of course, are read into some of the highest level intelligence that the U.S. government can provide. Secretary of State Marco Rubio was meeting with those individuals today, as well as the other leadership that makes up the Gang of Eight, which goes to the idea, Joe, that while this is usually a domestically oriented speech, it could be much more geopolitically tinged this year than normal, than you would expect, at the very least, from an America First president.
That's absolutely right. Marco Rubio and the CIA director had the Gang of Eight at the White House for an important briefing today that is apparently still not, based on the lawmakers we're talking with, trickled down to the committee level. Those on foreign affairs still have not been briefed, and they don't know exactly what the president is going to say tonight. When the Secretary of State walked through the room here at Statuary Hall, reporters all yelled the same question about Iran. And is the president going to strike? He didn't bat an eye. He just kept walking straight forward with a straight face and answered no questions this evening, Kaylee, building up the anticipation over what the president is going to say.
Indeed, and we do have excerpts from that speech that kind of get to these ideas of war and peace. He plans to say as president, "I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must." And for more on the excerpts of the speech that we have gotten, we turn back to Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall, who is still live for us at the White House. Obviously, Tyler, President Trump has left the White House. He is actively on his way to the Capitol, but now we have a better understanding of what exactly it is he plans to say when he arrives.
Right, Kaylee, and it really matches our reporting leading up to tonight that this speech is going to take that dual track when it comes to focusing on the economy and affordability, as well as that push around foreign policy, even as our own reporting has repeatedly shown that senior White House advisors, including the Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, have urged President Trump to focus on those domestic issues as we head into the midterms. A recent poll out just this week from Ipsos, for example, showing that President Trump is facing underwater ratings when it comes to to his handling of the economy. 57% of U.S. adults view his handling of the economy as negative. But as you and Joe are just discussing, foreign policy is really at the center of this. You just read that quote about a potential threat when it comes to protecting American interests abroad, as all eyes are on those tensions between the U.S. and Iran. And today's speech comes at this very interesting point in time when it comes to those negotiations. And we look ahead to Thursday, when the expected third round of talks between the U.S. and Iran are set to convene in Geneva. However, our reporting has indicated there are still those contrasting parameters about exactly what needs to be on the table when it comes to a potential deal. There seems to be disagreements about the future of Iran's enrichment of uranium, as well as whether or not some of those other key issues will be put on the table, as we have heard repeatedly from U.S. officials like Secretary of State Marco Rubio that the U.S. wants to see Iran's ballistic missile program, as well as its support for proxy militia groups, folded into any potential deal as well. Kaylee, it's going to be something to watch as President Trump takes the lectern on Capitol Hill, whether or not we get a sense from him on where he feels diplomacy stands, because we have repeatedly heard from this president that he is, quote, indirectly involved in these talks.
All right, Bloomberg's Tyler Kendall at the White House. Thank you so much. And I would note that the pool of reporters traveling with the White House has told us that the president and his motorcade have indeed arrived at the Capitol as of about 6 minutes ago. We expect we will see him and the First Lady any moment now. But as we await that, we turn back to Mario Parker, Jeff Mason, and Nia Malika Henderson, who are all with me in our Washington, D.C. studio. So just on this foreign policy idea, Jeff, when we're talking about being in a midterm year, in a domestic-focused election, you would think. And yet I do wonder how much we expect to see a domestic-focused president tonight, because arguably his focus largely in the last few months has been on foreign affairs, whether we're talking about Iran or Greenland or Venezuela or elsewhere.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, I'm glad you mentioned Greenland, because
we forget about that.
There are some things that are, in terms of the foreign policy world, that are very Trumpian. But I also think it's important to note most State of the Union addresses include a foreign policy element as well as a domestic policy element. That is the job. I mean, the president has to run the country, and he also has to deal with foreign affairs. But you're not wrong to say that it's his supporters who are very eager to see him focused on the economy and on all things Make America Great Again, which is America first. And they don't feel that he has been doing that in the last few months. And I think, back to Mario's point from earlier, this is an opportunity for him to reset that. Whether or not he chooses to take that opportunity is another question.
Well, and what's remarkable, Nia, is when we think about State of the Unions past, not just the ones given by President Trump, but, for example, President Biden, and some of those who were more provocative or in those moments, like, for example, former Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene, was a staunch ally of the president, a staunch America First advocate. She yelled at President Biden multiple times when he was giving speeches like this. She's now fallen out with President Trump over what we're discussing, the idea that he has kind of abandoned those MAGA ideals that he rose to power on. How should we think about how that changes the political dynamics the president and, frankly, the party are going to be contending with?
Well, I mean, if you
Why am I not hearing Bloomberg? I know y'all can. I swear, there's always something when it comes to this streaming shit. There's always some dumb shit. That is the White House with their little claymation crap.
And now the Supreme Court has essentially said that a lot of these increases should never have happened, and Americans are due a refund.
The chair appoints as members of the committee on the part of
this is the Speaker of the House.
How's everybody in Rumble
the United States
picking
into the
me
chamber? The gentleman from Louisiana, Mr.
Scalise.
The gentleman from Minnesota, Mr. Emmer. The gentlewoman from Michigan, Mrs. McClain. The gentleman from North Carolina, Mr. Hudson. The gentleman from Pennsylvania, Mr. Reschenthaler.
I had
The gentleman from
neglected
Utah,
to kill
Mr. Moore.
the other one completely.
Gentleman
so
from
it was
Indiana,
like
Mrs.
bouncing
Houchin.
back and forth.
The gentleman
and
from
some
Oklahoma,
rumble, like
Mr. Hearn.
commercials between each
Gentleman
video.
from New
It was
York,
like
Mr.
you
Jeffries.
get 2
The
or 3
gentleman from
seconds of
California,
one
Mr.
stream,
Aguilar.
and then 2 commercials.
Gentleman
and then
from
2 or 3
California,
seconds of the
Mr.
next
Lou.
stream, and then more
Gentlewoman from
commercials. So it
Washington,
was just
Mrs.
commercial
Delby.
after commercial after
Gentlewoman from
commercial.
Michigan, Mrs. Dingle.
So totally my bad. Those of you at
The
Rumble.
President of the Senate, at the direction of that body, appoints the following senators as members of the Committee on the part of the Senate to escort the President of the United States into the House chamber. The Senate.
As Trump is speaking, I'm going to have my headphones off so I can actually hear it. For some reason, I'm not hearing what y'all are hearing, so I have to have the stream pulled up over here. So I will back off while important people are speaking.
Base of the party, or at least what Marjorie Taylor Greene feels like she represents, and President Trump. You could apply
so I'll make
that
it a little bigger
in the foreign policy realm, but you also could apply it over something the president probably doesn't want to spend any time speaking about tonight, and that is the Epstein files, noting, Jeannie, that there are a number of survivors of Jeffrey Epstein who are guests of Democrats and will be in the chamber tonight. How does that color what is about to happen? How do you expect the president to address it or not?
I don't expect the president to address it, but it is really an important point because it is our understanding this will be the first time that he is in a room that contains people who have been victimized by Jeffrey Epstein. Some of them have come out already and said that they would like.
Yes, very interesting indeed that they're going to have the Epstein victims in there. Oh, this one, and supposedly the rumor is there's going to be about 70 of them. Or no, excuse me, I'm sorry. There's 70 Democrats who decided not to show up for this. So who's going to accompany these victims?
Is so important because in the entire Epstein saga and scandal, we hear much more about alleged perpetrators than we have the victims. And it's the victims, over 1,000, a few of whom will be there tonight, that deserve the.
I also find it very interesting that crypto and silver both decided to start running. Ahead, right here ahead of the, like right at 8 o'clock. Which is nice. We had a good run from Bitcoin or from silver earlier today around market open, and then it maintained, and now it looks like it's pushing towards 90, which is great. I have a prediction for silver, and if we get enough participants tonight, I will reveal that prediction. And if anybody has any tickers you want me to check out, drop them in the chat. Obviously the market's closed, but there are still some things that are running, like all the cryptos and things like silver. You got to bear with me. I'm still figuring out all the ins and outs of some of the details of this program that I'm using for streaming.
Now, if you're with us on Bloomberg TV, some of the most senior Democratic leadership, Hakeem Jeffries, Chuck Schumer, gathered together on the floor.
Mr. Speaker, the Chief
absolutely.
Associate Justices.
And Mario, I'll just hold on, as we are now seeing the Chief Justice, John Roberts, and the other justices of the Supreme Court being led into the chamber right now. And again, Mario, there is a tension here.
Yes, absolutely. With the Supreme Court, obviously, with Democrats, obviously, but also what we've seen over the last few months, dating back to Epstein, is a slow break with the GOP as well, in which they've started to buck some of the president's. I mean, the Epstein files came to.
So let's play some bets, guys. Like, I'm real, not for real. I don't have any money to bet with, but. What color tie do we think Trump's going to wear today? Blue or red? Drop your comment drop your prediction in the chat. fixing my thumbnail for Rumble. Rumble is so tedious. Like, it's so picky about every little detail. Boom. Right, we are good on Rumble. Go ahead and share this. All right, I am done sharing.
There before him and in this massive scene. And
you know what? I want to see the White House.
For many years. I've started at your first rally when you first were running again. I went by myself. There isn't words, but I'm so thankful for everything.
Thank you so much for letting me come and talk about education and teach all Americans how to learn super fast and effectively with using AI.
I am incredibly thankful for your initiative and wanting to push and bringing to light the hardships behind IVF and the access that families need.
To be here is a dream. I don't think I could have ever imagined this for myself, and yet here I am. So I'm thrilled, and thank you for having me.
We stand behind you in the efforts that you're trying to progress to better the United States and the United States citizens.
Yeah, for some dumbass reason, I can't hear anything in my headphones except for myself, but it's coming through just fine. So. I need another monitor. I have two, and you would think that would be enough. All right, it was blue.
A bit behind, we see the Attorney General Pam Bondi making her way as well. The Interior Secretary Doug Burgum is just behind her, and the Health and Human Services Secretary RFK Jr. Of course, as they slowly make their way down the aisle here. As Joe mentioned, there are a lot of hands that seem to be wanting to be shaken if you're a member of Congress greeting these members of the cabinet. I guess we're going to have to just kind of count heads here to see who is going to be the designated survivor, as I don't believe we have gotten confirmation of that, and we're expecting to lay eyes here as we see the White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles making her way in now. Perhaps one of the department heads that is going to be most part of this speech tonight, at least in terms of the way in which their department is working its way into policy and the forefront of political thought, is the Department of Homeland Security, which we would remind you all here at Bloomberg TV and Radio is not currently funded, Joe. We're in the 11th day of a shutdown, and that shutdown, in part by Democrats, has been driven by dissatisfaction with the way that the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, and specifically ICE have been conducting themselves.
You know, that's exactly right. It would be peculiar if that Secretary of all were dispatched as our designated survivor this evening, because a lot of folks are going to be looking. In fact, I see her right now, Kaylee. Yeah, we're starting to eliminate the choices here. Lee Zeldin behind her. It's not EPA. It's not going to be the Health Department or HUD for that matter. So we're running out of options here.
Yep. as we're seeing the Attorney General, Pam Bondi, quite a moment, shaking hands with the justices of the Supreme Court, moving on to the Joint Chiefs now. As we continue to watch the action here on the floor, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, also speaking with some of our most senior military leadership. As we see the Transportation Secretary, Sean Duffy, also making his way in the chamber. The Commerce Secretary, Howard Lutnick, has arrived too. We see the OMB Director, Russ Vogt, behind them as well.
I don't know what it is.
So, Joe, the process is beginning here, but in
other people's lives,
as you've alluded to, it does seem we're running quite a bit behind schedule. Howard Lutnick is taking his time now, shaking hands with the Chief Justice, John Roberts. And if we're already in for a long speech, it looks like our time on the air is going to be even later.
I don't know. Maybe,
yeah, we could see tomorrow before this is over, and everyone in the room here seems to be okay with that. Look, it's the Super Bowl of politics, and this is a major event that every one of these lawmakers wants to get a piece of, and of course the president himself, an opportunity to get in the living room of, say, 40 million people. Kaylee, it was about 36.5 million people who watched this address last year, just as the president came back into office. And think of what has happened since then, with regard to the longest government shutdown in American history, with Liberation Day, with the action that we saw in Venezuela, the attempts at Greenland, Tulsi Gabbard now entering the room, along with Jamison Greer. There are huge questions, Kaylee, about all of this, with the president now set to speak 1 year later in a very different political environment than he enjoyed when he came into office. He's still got the MAGA base with him and the majority of Republican lawmakers you're seeing, but in some of the small jailbreaks that we've seen on issues like tariffs, on ACA subsidies, the president may be finding the line on some of these issues with these people tonight in this chamber.
In a bear market.
Indeed, and that chamber, of course, is growing a bit more crowded as the members of the cabinet continue to make their way slowly to their seats. And the president's family, his children, including Tiffany Trump, Don Jr., Eric Trump, Barron, they're all, Ivanka, they are all lined up and also waiting for his arrival, which we expect any moment now. And the First Lady, Melania Trump, of course, is in her inbox as well with their various guests. And Joe, it's remarkable as we consider not just the formal members of the cabinet, but I see eyes here on the president's special envoy, Steve Witkoff, who right now is simultaneously negotiating many different geopolitical conflicts around the world, which again brings us back to the question of just how the president is going to message specifically his objectives with Iran and a potential nuclear deal this evening.
Does anybody have any
that's very true. Really interesting. Steve Witkoff has not found a party that he didn't want to be at lately, and this is going to be one of them as well, having crisscrossed the world truly in a literal example of shuttle diplomacy between the war in Ukraine, the potential strikes against Iran, and of course what is happening in Gaza. Kaylee, we have not seen the Labor Secretary, I will note, Chavez DeRemer, unless you're seeing something that I'm not. We haven't seen Secretary Collins as well, so this may be Labor or VA. We're still waiting for that designated survivor.
I believe we did see the Labor Secretary, Joe, but yes, we're still, it basically is just a process of elimination right now, as we're still waiting for confirmation as to who exactly the designated survivor will be. We're still, of course, waiting for the full prepared remarks of President Trump.
Got some stupid music playing that YouTube will want to charge me 5 cents to play. Yeah, they don't have any sound going. We'll stick with Bloomberg.
The weave that he is oh so proud of. And still with me around here on set, Mario Parker, Jeff Mason, Nia Malika Henderson. And as we consider that notion, Jeff, looking right now at Susie Wiles, the White House Chief of Staff, who all reporting would indicate has things that she would like President Trump to talk about, a way she would like him to do it. And we just have a question as to whether or not he's going to acquiesce to that.
Ding, ding, ding. Yeah. We'll see. Speaking of Susie Wiles, it doesn't look like she went over and said hello to the Supreme Court justices. We'll see if that is a harbinger of things to come when her boss walks down the aisle. Yes, there's no question from a political perspective, someone like the Chief of Staff, who has a very keen and sharp political sense, would like to see the President of the United States focus more on the things that voters care about going into these midterm elections. And, you know, it's the end of February, but the midterms are coming right up. And polling does not favor the President's party right now, at least in the House. And most of the special elections that we've seen in the last year have gone Democrats' way. So this is surely she would like to see him focus on that. I'm sure she had a hand in the speech.
And Jeff, I'll stop you there as we listen in to the House chamber.
Mr. Speaker, the President of the United States.
There he is. All right, I'm going to make myself smooth. I will do my best not to interject and interrupt unless I absolutely have to. You know, like if Trump's hair catches on fire or something, I think I have to say something. That's my duty. All right. Whose hands is he not going to shake?
President Donald Trump has entered the House chamber, has begun a slow walk down the aisle as he prepares to give his State of the Union address, of course, the first of his second term. Just behind him, leadership of the House and Senate. The House Majority Leader, Steve Scalise, and Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, are just behind him as he is shaking the hands now of various lawmakers, including Congressman Troy Nehls of Texas as we speak. Joe, this could still take some time, but the president is in the building.
Yeah, I would let this breathe for a minute. Troy Nehls, by the way, who brought Ken Paxton with him, the Attorney General of Texas, who's running for Senate and did a number of interview rounds here in Stat Hall earlier. Kaylee, two of the first faces the president saw were Tim Burchett and Nicole Malliotakis as he made his way into the chamber. And I will let you know that a lot of these members are very deliberate about getting here very early to get that aisle seat, as we now see the chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee shaking hands with the president as well. This is prime real estate, and having an opportunity to get a selfie or to be caught on camera right now with President Trump is part of the job for some of these lawmakers. There's Chip Roy, who joined us just a short time ago here in Statuary Hall. Everybody needs to get a selfie, Kaylee. The iPhone has made this more difficult than just about any other development in the past many years.
Yep, it's not just handshakes. It is also now photos as the president is continuing to make his way slowly down the aisle, shaking hands as he does now with members of his cabinet. He just was with the Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, and now acknowledging in a remarkable moment, shaking hands with the Chief Justice of the United States Supreme Court, John Roberts, Brett Kavanaugh, Lena Kagan, and Amy Coney Barrett. Of course, the majority of those, with Kavanaugh being the exception, having just ruled against him, Joe, saying that his IEPA tariffs are illegal. But remarkable to see the shaking of hands despite that.
Yep, very straight face on Elena Kagan. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, obviously, he said just a couple of days ago that she was an embarrassment to the nation and to her family, and very tense feel as the president made his way past them to the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. A handshake for John Fetterman, by the way, which has been floated as a potential member of the Republican Party. Kaylee, the president is making his way into the speaker's rostrum right now. He will next deliver his speech to the Speaker of the House and the Vice President, who will be his backdrop this evening for this speech.
Indeed, and as he approaches the dais, of course, he will be staring at those very same Supreme Court justices with whom he just shook hands, and Rick Davis and Jeannie Shanzano, our political panel. I want to get their thoughts on that. Rick, we wondered how the president would be approaching the Supreme Court tonight, at least at the start here. It seems
right, and like I said before, as soon as he starts talking, I'm going to have to take my headphones
off. I think that Donald Trump really appreciates the pomp and circumstance of these moments. He's the ringmaster, and he's going to milk this for all he can. This is the one thing I think that everyone has to agree that he does better than most presidents in the modern era. He is the man behind the curtain, but here he gets to stay on the stage.
I may run for a smoke if he goes into overtime. But I'll take it with me and I'll still be in the chat. Comment where you're from. Drop a comment below and tell me where you're from. Tell me who you voted for. You don't have to tell me who you voted for.
And as Rick was alluding to, President Trump does indeed seem to be soaking up this moment as he listens to the applause of those gathered in the chamber, though I would note that applause mostly is coming from one side of the aisle and not the other. But the president taking a moment, Joe, to soak all of this in before he moves to the podium and begins to deliver his speech.
That's right, Kaylee.
Members of
Dark
Congress
suit,
have
red
the
tie
high
this
privilege
evening.
and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Walk down the aisle was not quite enough, and this is normal. Following this introduction, as we mentioned, the President will turn and deliver the bound copies of the speech that he intends to give. Kaylee, one of the questions that you raised is an interesting one. How much time will he spend on the script? He's got a teleprompter all the way in the back of that room on an LED screen to complement the two panels that you see in front of him when he looks left and right. Let's listen live now on Bloomberg TV and radio.
Speaker Johnson, Vice President Vance, First Lady of the United States.
All right.
Second Lady of the United States. Members of Congress and my fellow Americans, our nation is back, bigger, better, richer, and stronger than ever before. Less than 5 months from now, our country will celebrate an epic milestone in American history, the 250th anniversary of our glorious American independence. This July 4th, we will mark 2.5 centuries of liberty and triumph, progress and freedom in the most incredible and exceptional nation ever to exist on the face of the earth. And you've seen nothing yet. We're going to do better and better and better. This is the golden age of America. When I last spoke in this chamber 12 months ago, I had just inherited a nation in crisis with a stagnant economy, inflation at record levels, a wide-open border, horrendous recruitment for military and police, rampant crime at home, and wars and chaos all over the world. But tonight, after just 1 year, I can say with dignity and pride that we have achieved a transformation like no one has ever seen before, and a turnaround for the ages. It is indeed a turnaround for the ages.
Yeah.
And we will never go back to where we were just a very short time ago. We're not going back. Today, our border is secure. Thank you. Today, our border is secure. Our spirit is restored. Inflation is plummeting. Incomes are rising fast. The roaring economy is roaring like never before. And our enemies are scared. Our military and police are stacked. And America is respected again, perhaps like never before. After 4 years in which millions and millions of illegal aliens poured across our borders, totally unvetted and unchecked, we now have the strongest and most secure border in American history by far. in the past 9 months, 0 illegal aliens have been admitted to the United States. But we will always allow people to come in legally, people that will love our country and will work hard to maintain our country.
Thank you. Who has a problem with that?
The flow of deadly fentanyl across our border is down by a record 56% in 1 year.
I hate all this standing up every time he makes a point. This is what drags it on.
And last year, the murder rate saw its single largest decline in recorded history. This is the biggest decline, think of it, in recorded history, the lowest number in over 125 years, year 1900. In fact, substantially before my wonderful father, I had a wonderful father, Fred, before he was born, substantially before he was born. That's a long time ago. He wouldn't like me to say that, but that's a long time ago. The Biden administration and its allies in Congress gave us the worst inflation in the history of our country. But in 12 months, my administration has driven core inflation down to the lowest level in more than 5 years. And in the last 3 months of 2025, it was down to 1.7%.
Silver and Bitcoin are running. Silver about to break $88, $89. Bitcoin over 66,000.
Gasoline, which reached a peak of over $6 a gallon in some states under my predecessor, it was quite honestly a disaster, is now below $2.30 a gallon in most states, and in some places $1.99 a gallon. And when I visited the great state of Iowa just a few weeks ago, I even saw $1.85 a gallon for gasoline.
Just so everybody knows, I'm delaying all the ads because I realize the ads are pretty annoying.
Mortgage rates are the lowest in 4 years and falling fast, and the annual cost of a typical new mortgage is down almost $5,000 just since I took office. 1 year.
Is that the price of a mortgage or home prices? Is that
And
the price
low
of
interest
financing?
rates will solve the Biden-created housing problem while at the same time protecting the values of those people who already own a house that really feel rich for the first time in their lives. We want to protect those values. We want to keep those values up. We're going to do both. And we are going to keep it that way. The stock market has set 53 all-time record highs since the election. Think of that, 1 year. Boosting pensions, 401ks, and retirement accounts for the millions and millions of Americans. They're all gaining. Everybody's up, way up. In 4 long years, the last administration got less than $1 trillion in new investment in the United States. And when I say less, substantially less. In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe.
Womp womp.
Think of it, much less than $1 trillion for 4 years versus much more than $18 trillion for 1 year. What a difference a president makes. A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest.
For a second there, it sounded like he just went, penis.
As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. It's getting bigger and bigger and stronger. Nobody can believe what they're watching. American oil production is up by more than 600,000 barrels a day, and we just received from our new friend and partner, Venezuela, more than 80 million barrels of oil.
Our new friend and partner.
American natural gas production is at an all-time high because I kept my promise to drill, baby, drill. More Americans are working today than at any time in the history of our country. Think about that. Any time in the history of our country, more working today. And 100% of all jobs created under my administration have been in the private sector.
I don't know if more people are working than ever before. I don't know about that.
We ended DEI in America. We cut a record number of job-killing regulations, and in 1 year we have lifted 2.4 million Americans, a record, off of food stamps.
By what means, though, right?
And for all of these reasons, I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong.
Not one Democrat can stand. Well, you knew that was going to happen. It's a shame we're so divided.
Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, 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 Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, 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 you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever. And to prove that point, here with us tonight is a group of winners who just made the entire nation proud. The men's gold medal Olympic hockey team. Come on in.
Look, my Bitcoin holdings aren't winning. They're sucking it, actually. Silver's running. Bitcoin is running currently. Silver might break $90 tonight.
Go ahead. That's the first time I've ever seen them get up. And actually, not all of them did get up. But they beat a fantastic Canadian team in overtime, as everybody saw, as did the American women who will soon be coming to the White House. They were in the Oval Office before. And I just want to say a second very big congratulations to Team USA. But I have to say that, and I told them this, and we took a vote of the team. I said, anybody votes no, I'm not doing it. So they stood there, and they weren't about to say no, because I've never seen a goaltender play as well as goalie Connor Hellebuck.
Silver and Bitcoin still both running.
Think of it, 46 shots on goal, and I asked him, the one shot, the one where you put your stick in the back and it hit the neck of your stick and bounced off. Do you practice that, or was that a little lucky? He refused to answer that question. But I just want to tell you that the members of this great hockey squad will be very happy to hear, based on their vote and my vote, and in this case my vote was more important, that I will soon be presenting Connor with our highest civilian honor, which we will be given, and which has been given to many athletes over the years. But when I say many, not too many, like 12, it's called the highest civilian honor in our country, the Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Just so everybody's aware, I've suspended all ads on the YouTube channel. I can't say the same for Rumble. Sorry, Rumble. But I have YouTube Premium, and I can suspend ads on my own video. So, yeah.
Great athletes have gotten that, very great, the best, and I thought he deserved it. And I did take a vote, every single one of them. I said, I'm not giving it if anybody goes no, and every single one of them rapidly put up their hand. So I want to thank you. What a special job you did. What special champions you are. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to say that the next time the Olympic torch is lit, it will be here in America for the 2028 Olympics, and it's the summer version right in Los Angeles. We're going to do a good job in Los Angeles. And Los Angeles is going to be safe, just like Washington, D.C. is now one of the safest cities in the country.
That's a bit of a tall order. Trump loves to make bold promises.
And this year, and I must say I got them both. I got them in my first term, and I was disappointed because I didn't think I'd be the president when this happened. But strange things took place. And now I've got them because I got the Olympics and I got the 2026 FIFA World Cup. And I wanted to claim the 250th, but I didn't get away with that one. I couldn't claim that one for myself. But we're getting the World Cup. So we have the World Cup and the Olympics coming. And that is exciting news. So this will be a year to celebrate our country and the heroes who have kept it free. Men like Buddy Taggart. At age 17, Buddy volunteered to defend America in World War II, serving in the Pacific under the great General Douglas MacArthur. He fought bravely in the famous Battle of Manila, worked so hard. He was badly wounded and almost killed by enemy machine guns in Luzon. And 81 years ago this month, he liberated the largest internment camp in the Philippines, one of the largest anywhere in the world. Buddy earned many honors, including a Purple Heart and a Bronze Star, came home, started a family, and tonight he is in the gallery looking forward to July 4th, 2026, his 100th birthday. So, buddy, you're a brave man, and we salute you. Even in times of challenge, setback, and immense heartache, the spirit of 1776 has always shone through very brightly. It was July 4th of last year when floodwaters tore through a girls' summer camp in Central Texas, one of the worst things I've ever seen. I was there, rising 26 feet in the matter of minutes, tragically claiming many, many lives. You all remember that one. As the waters threatened to sweep her away, 11-year-old Millie Kate McClelland closed her eyes and prayed to God. She thought she was going to die. Those prayers were answered when Coast Guard rescue swimmer Scott Ruskin descended from a helicopter above. Nobody knew where he came from. It was Scott's first ever rescue mission, a young guy, but very brave, very, very top, always top in his class. And he lifted not just Millie Kate, but 164 others to safety.
Silver about to break 90 bucks. Bitcoin just broke 66,000. I'm about to go for a smoke, but I'm going to take this with me. I'll still be in the chat.
People watched Scott from a distance, and they couldn't believe what they were seeing. The winds were blowing, the rain was pouring, everything was going, and that rapid water, nobody's ever seen anything like it. They said, wow, that's something. Tonight, Scott and Millie Kate are here together, reunited for the very first time. Thank you, Scott, Millie Kate. And Petty Officer Ruskin, I'm pleased to inform you that I am now awarding you the Legion of Merit for extraordinary heroism, which is what it was, extraordinary heroism. Thank you. And I'd like to have the military aide to please come down and take care of the service. Military aide, thank you very much. Take care of that very important service. Thank you very much. From 1776 to today, every generation of Americans has stepped forward to defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And they're really doing it for the next generation. But now it's our turn. Together we're building a nation where every child has the chance to reach higher and go further, where government answers to the people, not the powerful, and where the interests of hardworking American citizens are always our first and ultimate concern. That is the debt we owe to the heroes who came before us, and that is the promise we must keep to America for our 250th year. Last year, I urged this Congress to begin the mission by passing the largest tax cuts in American history, and our Republican majorities delivered so beautifully. Thank you, Republicans. All Democrats, every single one of them, voted against these really important and very necessary massive tax cuts. They wanted large-scale tax increases to hurt the people instead. But we held strong, and with the great, big, beautiful bill, we gave you no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security for our great seniors. And we also made interest on auto loans tax deductible the first time, but only if the car is made in America. Recently in Pennsylvania, I met Megan Hemhauser, a devoted mom who's homeschools her children. Beautiful, 2 children, during the day while waiting tables at night as her husband works overtime operating very heavy equipment. Megan is here this evening, and she's happy to tell you that she is so much richer because with no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and her expanded child tax credit done again by Republicans, Megan and her husband will take home more than $5,000 extra just for the year, cutting her tax bill in more than half. Megan, please stand up. We're fighting for you, Megan. Thank you, Megan. We're fighting for you, Megan. Under our bill, parents like Megan can also activate their children's brand new Trump accounts. And I didn't name it. I did not name that. Nobody believes me, but I did not name it. It was named by a very tall man sitting right there in the third row. Nice man, a good man. Tax-free investment accounts for every American child. This is something that's so special and has taken off and gone through the roof. Millions will be pre-funded courtesy of the U.S. Treasury and private individuals like Michael and Susan Dell, who have donated $6,250 million to fund the Trump accounts for 25 million American children. They're great people. When I asked Michael Dell, how do you make all that money? He said, well, I just sat on my dorm in school, and I made computers, and I'd sell them to people, and I just kept selling and selling and selling, and pretty amazing story. That's called the American dream. He sold a lot of computers, a lot of those laptops, so I congratulate him on that, but I really thank him and Susan, as well as others like Brad Gerstner, a very tremendous guy. He was behind it right from the beginning. Brad Gerstner. Thank you, Brad. So with modest additional contributions, these young people's accounts could grow to over $100,000 or more by the time they turn 18. Think of it. How much money is that for somebody that started with nothing? Over 100,000, could be much more than that. To make this investment in our children's future, go to TrumpAccounts.gov, TrumpAccounts.gov. And a lot of people are doing it. They're setting every record in the book. It's popular. They knew what it was going to take. I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of the people that got it started. And now it's just taken off. One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth, and the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. So despite the disappointing ruling, these powerful, country-saving, it's saving our country, the kind of money we're taking in, peace-protecting. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes, and they have been tested for a long time. They're a little more complex, but they're actually probably better, leading to a solution that will be even stronger than before. Congressional action will not be necessary. It's already time-tested and approved. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
Hey, thanks to Hey, thanks to Adam Walters for the $20 super chat.
Jobs, investment, and trillions of dollars will continue pouring into the United States of America because we finally have a president who puts America first. I put America first. I love America.
Thank you, thank you.
For decades before I came along, we had the exact opposite. From trade to health care, from energy to immigration, everything was stolen and rigged in order to drain the wealth out of the productive, hardworking people who make our country great, who make our country run. Under Biden and his corrupt partners in Congress and beyond, it reached a breaking point with the Green New scam, open borders for everyone. They poured in by the millions and millions from prisons, from mental institutions. They were murderers, 11,888 murders. They came into our country. You allowed that to happen. And record-setting inflation that cost the typical family $34,000 in just a speck of time. Now, the same people in this chamber who voted for those disasters suddenly used the word affordability, a word. They just used it. Somebody gave it to them, knowing full well that they caused and created the increased prices that all of our citizens had to endure. You caused that problem. You caused that problem.
Just poke him with a stick.
They knew their statements were a lie. They knew it. They knew their statements were a dirty, rotten lie. Their policies created the high prices Our policies are rapidly ending them. We are doing really well. Those prices are plummeting downward.
Give me my cash. Make them prices go down.
The price of eggs is down 60%, Madam Secretary.
That was going to happen anyway.
The cost of chicken, butter, fruit, hotels, automobiles, rent is lower today than when I took office by a lot. And even beef, which was very high, is starting to come down significantly. Just hold on a little while. We're getting it down.
It hasn't come down
And soon
enough.
you will see numbers that few people would think were possible to achieve just a short time ago. Nobody can believe when they see the kind of numbers, and especially energy, when they see energy going down to numbers like that, they cannot believe it. It's like another big tax cut. I'm also confronting one of the biggest ripoffs of our times, the crushing cost of health care caused by you. Since the passage of the Unaffordable Care Act, sometimes referred to as Obamacare, big insurance companies have gotten rich. It was meant for the insurance companies, not for the people. With our government giving them hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars a year as their stock prices soared 1,000, 1,200, 1,400, and even 1,700%.
I'll comment on my situation.
That's why I
after.
introduced the great health care plan. I want to stop all payments to big insurance companies and instead give that money directly to the people so they can buy their own health care, which will be better health care at a much lower cost.
Whether it's better is yet to be seen. Mine was only $20 a month under Obamacare. It went up to $100 a month since everything changed.
In addition, my plan requires maximum price transparency. That's a big deal. Sounds so simple, so big.
So I should get $1,200 a year to pay for it.
I did that in my first term, and the Democrats immediately terminated it with full knowledge that they were doing a very bad thing for the people. Costs were going to go way up, and that's what happened, and now I'm bringing them way down on health care and everything else. I'm also ending the wildly inflated cost of prescription drugs like has never happened before.
Well, my prescriptions haven't changed. It's still zero with my call it Obamacare.
Other presidents tried to do it, but they never could. They tried. Most didn't try, actually.
Didn't try.
But they tried. They said they tried. They couldn't do it. They didn't even come close.
No.
They were all talk and no action.
That's right.
But I got it done. Under my just enacted most favored nation agreements, Americans who have for decades paid by far the highest prices of any nation anywhere in the world for prescription drugs will now pay the lowest price anywhere in the world for drugs.
That's
anywhere.
yet to be seen.
The lowest price.
Bold promises. I hope that happens. But under my prescription plan, currently I pay nothing for prescriptions.
So in my
Except for
first
insulin.
year of the second term, should be my third term, but strange things happen. I took prescription drugs, a very big part of health care, from the highest price in the entire world to the lowest. That's a big achievement. The result is price differences of 300, 400, 500, 600% and more, all available right now at a new website called TrumpRx.gov. And I didn't name that one either, by the way.
He should really describe that differently. Because he's an easy target. When he says 500% cheaper, what he's paying us, no. And I know that's not what he means.
Tonight is the very first customer ever to get that big discount, and it is big. Catherine Rayner. For 5 years, she and her husband have struggled with infertility, and they turned to IVF. One drug has been costing Catherine $4,000 to purchase.
Jesus.
But a few weeks ago, she logged onto the TrumpRx website and got that same drug that cost $4,000, got it for under $500, a reduction of much more, actually, than $3,500. Catherine, we are all praying for you, and you're going to be a great mom.
None of the drugs out there should be anywhere near the cost that they are. None of them. Look anywhere else in the world for any drug, you name it. Cheaper everywhere.
So now I'm calling on Congress to codify my most favored nation program into law. Now, the one thing, I'm not sure it matters because it's going to be very hard for somebody that comes along after me to say, let's raise drug prices by 700 or 800%.
They won't say it, they'll just do it.
But John and Mike, if you don't mind, codify it anyway. They may do it. Codify it anyway. Thank you. Many Americans are also concerned that energy demand from AI data centers could unfairly drive up their electric utility bills. Tonight, I'm pleased to announce that I have negotiated the new Ratepayer Protection Pledge. You know what that is? We're telling the major tech companies that they have the obligation to provide for their own power needs. They can build their own power plants as part of their factory, so that no one's prices will go up, and in many cases, prices of electricity will go down for the community, and very substantially down. This is a unique strategy never used in this country before. We have an old grid. It could never handle the kind of numbers, the amount of electricity that's needed. So I'm telling them they can build their own plant. They're going to produce their own electricity. It will ensure the company's ability to get electricity while at the same time lowering prices of electricity for you, and could be very substantial for all of you cities and towns. You're going to see some good things happen over the next number of years. Another pillar of the American dream that has been under attack is home ownership. With us tonight is Rachel Wiggins, a mom of two from Houston. She placed bids on 20 homes and lost all of those bids to gigantic investment firms that bypassed inspection, paid all cash, and turned those houses into rentals, stealing away her American dream. She was devastated. Stories like this are why last month I signed executive order to ban large Wall Street investment firms from buying up in the thousands single-family homes.
That was an impressive feat, in my opinion. That's pretty badass.
And now I'm asking Congress to make that ban permanent, because homes for people, really, that's what we want. We want homes for people, not for corporations. Corporations are doing just fine. Racel, thank you very much. Good luck with your home. You'll get one soon.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Corporations shouldn't be allowed to buy.
We're also working to make it easier for Americans to save for retirement. And under this administration, we will always protect Social Security and Medicare. They are not protecting it for our seniors. We will always protect Social Security, Medicare.
Can you say insolvency?
Since I took office, the typical 401k balance is up by at least $30,000. That's a lot of money. We have millions and millions of people, because the stock market has done so well, setting all those records. Your 401ks are way up. Yet half of all of working Americans still do not have access to a retirement plan with matching contributions from an employer. To remedy this gross disparity, I'm announcing that next year my administration will give these often forgotten American workers, great people, the people that built our country, access to the same type of retirement plan offered to every federal worker. We will match your contribution with up to $1,000 each year.
Really?
As we ensure that all Americans can profit from a rising stock market, let's also ensure that members of Congress cannot corruptly profit from using insider information.
Yes. Can we prorate that? Let's, Nancy Pelosi. Can you say conflict of interest?
They stood up for that. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
I can't believe it. Did Nancy Pelosi stand up if she was here? Doubt it. Pass the Stop Insider Trading Act without
Yes.
delay.
Yes. Absolutely. It won't stop them from doing it, but it'll certainly put a few roadblocks.
I wasn't sure if anybody even on this side was going to applaud for that. I'm very impressed. Thank you. I'm very impressed. But when it comes to the corruption that is plundering, it's plundering America. There's been no more stunning example than Minnesota, where members of the Somali community have pillaged an estimated $19 billion from the American taxpayer. Oh, we have all the information. And in actuality, the number is much higher than that.
Listen
And
to the rumor
California,
rep.
Massachusetts, Maine, and many other states are even worse. This is the kind of corruption that shreds the fabric of a nation, and we are working on it like you wouldn't believe. So tonight, although started 4 months ago, I am officially announcing the war on fraud to be led by our great Vice President J.D. Vance.
Yeah, we need to deport her right there. War on fraud. Good luck with that. Still all for it, but good luck with that.
We'll get it done. And if we're able to find enough of that fraud, we will actually have a balanced budget overnight. It'll go very quickly. That's the kind of money you're talking about. We'll balance our budget.
Very
the Somali
ambiguous statement.
pirates who ransacked Minnesota remind us that there are large parts of the world where bribery, corruption, and lawlessness are the norm, not the exception. Importing these cultures through unrestricted immigration and open borders brings those problems right here to the USA. And it is the American people who pay the price in higher medical bills, car insurance rates, rent, taxes, and perhaps most importantly, crime. We will take care of this problem. We're going to take care of this problem. We are not playing games. Delilah. Delilah Colvin was only 5 years old in June 2024 when a 18-wheel tractor trailer plowed into her stopped car traveling at 60 miles an hour or more. The driver was an illegal alien let in by Joe Biden and given a commercial driver's license by open borders politicians in California. Doctors said Delilah would never be able to walk or talk, have a good life. She wouldn't even be able to eat again. But against all odds, she is now in the first grade learning to walk. And she's here this evening with her dad, Marcus, a fantastic man. Delilah, please, you are a great inspiration. Please stand up.
I'm glad he didn't ask her to stand up. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He needs to be. He needs to be ruthless. He needs to dig his heels in. Is anybody on the left standing up for that little girl?
Thank you, Delilah. Many, if not most, illegal aliens do not speak English and cannot read even the most basic road signs as to direction, speed, danger, or location. That's why tonight I'm calling on Congress to pass what we will call the Delilah Law, barring any state from granting commercial driver's licenses to illegal aliens.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Absolutely. I mean, this is all pretty no-brainer type stuff that shouldn't have to be done. This should be common sense. The fact that we have to do something like that.
And yesterday, as you probably saw at the White House, I hosted a ceremony with Americans who lost their treasured loved ones to the scourge of illegal immigration. People came into our country, how we allowed this to happen with our open borders. These are the angel moms and families that for decades our government betrayed and our media totally ignored. It was terrible. Hard to believe, actually. In 2023, a 16-year-old high school cheerleader named Elizabeth Medina was supposed to perform in her town's Christmas parade, but she never arrived. Her mother, Jacqueline, went home to look for her, and she found her lying dead in a bathtub, bleeding profusely after being stabbed 25 times. Elizabeth's killer was a previously arrested illegal alien who had broken in and brutally extinguished the brightest light in her family's life, violently and viciously. Her heartbroken mother is in the gallery to remind everyone in this chamber exactly why we are deporting illegal alien criminals to our country at record numbers, and we're getting them the hell out of here fast. We don't want them.
Good. Again, why this has to even be made an issue, it should be common sense.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline. Thank you. We can never forget that many in this room not only allowed the border invasion to happen before I got involved, but indeed they would do it all over again if they ever had the chance. If they ever got elected, they would open up those borders to some of the worst criminals anywhere in the world. The only thing standing between Americans and a wide open border right now is President Donald J. Trump and our great Republican patriots in Congress. Thank you. Thank you.
I'd love to see the Democrats win a fair election.
As we speak, Democrats in this chamber have cut off all funding for the Department of Homeland Security. It's all cut off. It's all cut off. They have instituted another Democrat shutdown, the first one costing us 2 points on GDP. 2 points we lost on GDP, which probably made them quite happy, actually. Now they have closed the agency responsible for protecting Americans from terrorists and murderers. Tonight I'm demanding the full and immediate restoration of all funding for the border security, homeland security of the United States, and also for helping people clean up their snow. We have no money because of the Democrats, and it would be nice. We'd love to give you a hand at cleaning it up, but you gave no money. Nobody's getting paid. It's a shame. So you have to think about it. We have, in case you didn't know, a pretty large snowstorm out there. One of the great things about the State of the Union is how it gives Americans the chance to see clearly what their representatives really believe. So tonight I'm inviting every legislator to join with my administration in reaffirming a fundamental principle. If you agree with this statement, then stand up and show your support. The first duty of the American government is to protect American citizens, not illegal aliens.
Show the whole room. Show the whole room. Look at you bastards. What are these people thinking? A room divided. Pathetic. The entire left. That's what he's pointing at. Unbelievable, man. Look at that. Not a damn one of them standing up. I hope everybody's paying attention to that. They're going to tear Democrats apart for that right there tomorrow on all the conservative and right-wing news sources. Not a damn Democrat stood up for that. Idiots. I mean, it's not like he said death to the illegals. You have a path to citizenship? Go for it. Do it legally, do it the right way. I'm all for it. As are most Americans. But he specifically said illegals.
Isn't that a shame? You should be ashamed of yourself, not
Damn
standing
right.
up. You should be ashamed of yourself. That is why I'm also asking you to end deadly sanctuary cities that protect the criminals and enact serious penalties for public officials who block the removal of criminal aliens. In many cases, drug lords, murderers all over our country, they're blocking the removal of these people out of our country, and you should be ashamed of yourself.
You need to deport her ass. You're lucky to be in this country, bitch. The audacity. The absolute audacity.
And perhaps most importantly, I'm asking you to approve the Save America Act.
Look at that again. The entire room divided. Figures.
To stop illegal aliens and others who are unpermitted persons from voting in our sacred American elections. That cheating is rampant in our elections. It's rampant. It's very simple. All voters must show voter ID.
Damn right. You gotta show 2 forms of ID to shovel snow in New York. But not to vote. Make it make sense. Someone make it make sense.
All voters must show proof of citizenship in order to vote.
That's pretty simple. The fact that somebody thinks they can even argue against that.
Crooked mail-in ballots except for illness, disability, military, or travel. None. And this should be an easy one. And by the way, it's polling at 89%, including Democrats. 89%.
Aww. Somebody butt hurt.
And even the new communist mayor of New York City, I think he's a nice guy, actually. Speak to him a lot. Bad policy, but nice guy. Just said they want people to shovel snow. They got hit hard. Wants them to shovel snow, but if you apply for that job, you need to show 2 original forms of ID and a Social Security card.
There it is.
Yet they don't want identification for the greatest privilege of them all, voting in America. No, it's no good.
Of course not.
No good. Both Republicans and Democrats overwhelmingly agree on the policy that we just enunciated. And Congress should unite and enact this common sense, country-saving legislation right now, and it should be before anything else happens.
Yeah, pretty much. I agree. Anybody with half a brain would agree as well. Look at these assholes. They know they're losing most of their voter base. Pathetic. Pathetic.
And the reason they don't want to do it, why would anybody not want voter ID? One reason, because they want to cheat. There's only one reason. They make up all excuses. They say it's racist. They come up with things you almost say, what imagination they have. They want to cheat. They have cheated. And their policy is so bad that the only way they can get elected is to cheat. And we're going to stop it. We have to stop it, John.
What's the last Democrat talking point or policy point you've heard anything about? If it's not against Trump, it's not in their policy.
And here is one more opportunity to show common sense in government. In the gallery tonight are Sage Blair and her mother, Michelle. In 2021, Sage was 14 when school officials in Virginia sought to socially transition her to a new gender, treating her as a boy and hiding it from her parents.
Oh.
Hard to believe, isn't it? Before long, a confused Sage ran away from home after she was found in a horrific situation in Maryland. A left-wing judge refused to return Sage to her parents because they did not immediately state that their daughter was their son.
What?
Sage was thrown into an all-boys state home and suffered terribly for a long time.
What kind of
But
stupid
today, all
shit?
of that is behind them because Sage is a proud and wonderful young woman with a full-ride scholarship to Liberty University.
Good.
Sage and Michelle, please stand up.
I'm delaying ads again. I'm sorry if anybody hit me yet. I tried to delay them because nobody wants to be interrupted during this. So. Yeah, what kind of madness? Absolute insanity.
And thank you for your great bravery. And who can believe that we're even speaking about things like this?
Exactly.
15 years ago, if somebody was up here and said that, they'd say, what's wrong with him? But now we have to say it because it's going on all over numerous states without even telling the parents.
Yeah.
But surely
No.
we can all agree no state can be allowed to rip children from their parents' arms and transition them to a new gender against the parents' will. Who would believe that we're even talking about this? We must ban
That
it.
shit
and
crazy.
We must ban it immediately.
Damn right. Absolutely. It's the sickest thing I've heard in politics in the last few years.
Look, nobody stands up. These people are crazy. Amazing. Boy, oh boy. We're lucky we have a country with people like this. Democrats are destroying our country, but we've stopped it just in the nick of time, didn't we?
These people are crazy.
No one cares more about protecting America's youth than our wonderful First Lady. Now a movie star. She's a movie star. Can you believe it? Who would have believed that? Over the past year, she has had an incredible impact championing AI legislation, advancing a landmark executive order on foster care, and helping secure $30 million to launch the Melania Trump Foster Youth to Independence Initiative. It's a tremendous, really a tremendous thing that happened and had a lot of bipartisan support. She gets much better bipartisan support than I do. I get none. She gets a lot. Someday you're going to have to tell me how you did that. And students and educators in every state have joined the First Lady's efforts in the presidential AI challenge, keeping America's next generation positioned to succeed and strongly succeed in the future. Tonight we welcome two young people whose lives reflect the First Lady's impact, Sierra Burns and Everest Nevermont. Thank you both, and Melania, thank you. I know how hard you worked on it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, First Ladies, they always have some BS job to do, right? Which is never of any great import. I mean, honestly, I could care less. So could anybody.
I'm very proud to say that during my time in office, both the first 4 years and in particular this last year, there has been a tremendous renewal in religion, faith, Christianity, and belief in God. Tremendous renewal.
Yeah, midterms are going to be wild. Especially when they lose. Then again, I don't know. It's anybody's game.
This is especially true among young people, and a big part of that had to do with my great friend, Charlie Kirk, a great guy, great man.
Yeah. I've been hearing some wild conspiracy shit about her lately.
So last year, Charlie was violently murdered by an assassin and martyred, really martyred for his beliefs. His wonderful wife, Erica, is with us tonight. Erica, please stand.
She is standing. Yeah, there's some very wild conspiracy stuff going on around her. Not sure what to believe.
Thank you, Erica. Been through a lot. In Charlie's memory, we must all come together to reaffirm that America is one nation under God, and we must totally reject political violence of any kind.
Absolutely. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. Charlie Kirk didn't deserve that. It makes me sick, the people that were celebrating his death. You notice the only people who...
religion, and we love bringing it back, and it's coming back at levels that nobody actually thought possible. It's really a beautiful thing to see. Above all, unleashing America's promise requires keeping our communities safe. We have made incredible strides, yet dangerous repeat offenders continue to be released by pro-crime Democrat politicians again and again.
Yep.
We are honored to be joined tonight by a woman who's been through hell, Anya Zaretska. In 2022, she and her beautiful daughter, so beautiful, what a beautiful young woman, Irina fled war-torn Ukraine to live with relatives near Charlotte, North Carolina. And by the way, what's going on with Charlotte? Last summer, 23-year-old Irina was riding home on the train when a deranged monster who had been arrested over a dozen times and was released through no cash
total
bail,
piece of human garbage.
stood up and viciously slashed a knife through her neck and body. No one will ever forget. There were
For no
people
reason whatsoever.
on that train. No one will ever
Because
forget
she was
the
white, most
expression of
likely.
terror on Irina's face as she looked up at her attacker in the last seconds of her life. She died instantly. She had escaped a brutal
Broke my
war
heart.
only to be slain by a hardened criminal set free to kill in America. Came in through open borders. Mrs. Zaretska, tonight I promise you we will ensure justice for your magnificent daughter, Irina.
Death by firing squad. They don't need to prolong that one. Such a shame. Such a beautiful girl. For no reason whatsoever.
How do you not stand?
You know?
How do you not stand? I'm asking this Congress to pass tough legislation to ensure that violent and dangerous repeat offenders are put behind bars, and importantly, that they stay there.
I can't believe no Democrats stood for her death. Really? Like, that's fucked up.
Starting last summer, I deployed our National Guard and federal law enforcement to restore law and order to our most dangerous cities, including Memphis, Tennessee, big success.
Great
New
success.
Orleans, Louisiana, big success. And our nation's capital itself, Washington, D.C., where we have almost no crime anymore in Washington, D.C. How did that happen?
None that you can catch. I bet you I could find some.
In fact, crime in Washington is now at the lowest level ever recorded, and murders in D.C. this January were down close to 100% from a year ago. They don't like to hear that. One of the sick people, one of the brave service members who helped achieve this stunning turnaround was 20-year-old West Virginia Army National Guard Specialist Sarah Beckstrom. After a 4-month deployment, she voluntarily extended her service, and her rank was going to be lifted. She was doing so well. They were so proud of her. But the very next day, she was on patrol near the White House when she was ambushed and shot in the head by a terrorist monster from Afghanistan. Shouldn't have been in our country. And all because she wore the uniform of our nation, she was shot. He traveled here because he didn't like people wearing our uniform. He was sick and deranged, shouldn't have been in our country. Sarah Beckstrom died in order to defend our capital, and we are honored to be joined by her wonderful parents, Gary and Evalie. Your daughter was a true American patriot, and she will be greatly missed. She was a great person. I saw reports on her. They've never seen anything like her. So sorry. Thank you very much. She's a great young lady. I saw reports that were like, perfect. She was perfect. Serving alongside Sarah that day was Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf. The terrorist shot Andrew in the head, and no one thought he could possibly make it. The two of them, Sarah and Andrew, both shot violently in the head. Neither was expected to make it. They weren't even given a chance, except his wonderful mother, named Melody, who I spoke to the same night, and she was so positive. The doctors thought that Andrew was gone, but his mother said, no, Mr. President, Andrew will be fine. He's going to make it. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, he was given almost no chance. Blood all over. Everybody is praying, she said, sir, he will be okay. The doctors didn't understand what she was saying. And after looking at the results of the damage done, neither did I. She was so strong and conclusive that even Andrew's great father felt she didn't really understand the gravity of the situation. But she turned out to be right. Right, Melanie? She turned out to be right. Amazing, actually. I said, where does this woman come from? She's the most positive person I've ever met. With God's help, Andrew has battled back from the edge of death, and we're talking about the edge of death, on his way to a miraculous recovery. He's got a little work to do, but he's doing great. Nice to see you. He's a good-looking guy. Nice to see you. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you very much.
Did I miss it? I just had a news alert saying that Al Green was ejected. Wasn't that last State of the Union? Did that happen again?
So, Andrew, while you're up, now I'm going to ask a highly respected General James Seward to present Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf and the great family of Sarah Beckstrom with the award created by our late, great President George Washington himself. It's called the Purple Heart. People don't like you. You know, Marco got 100% of the votes when he was in confirmation. I think our next one was about
Did I just get disconnected?
54%. And some of the Democrats are now saying, I can't believe we approved that guy. And he said it's an honor that they feel that way. Right, Marco? You have done a great job, great Secretary of State. I think he'll go down as the best ever.
Who's still here? Comment.
Under the ceasefire I negotiated, every single hostage, both living and dead, has been returned home. Can you believe that? Nobody thought it was possible. Nobody thought that was possible. Both living and dead, and those parents who had a dead son, their boy, they'd always tell me their boy, they wanted him as much as though he were living. It was an amazing period of time, and they came back, and when we got all of the living hostages back, and many, many before them, but I always said those last 20 are going to be very tough, but we got many, many more, hundreds. But I said those last 20 are going to be tough. We got them back, but we only got back 14 or 15 of the dead, of the 28. And believe it or not, Hamas worked along with Israel, and they dug, and they dug, and they dug. It's a tough thing to do, going through bodies all over, passing up 100 bodies sometimes for each one that they found. Tough job. And they finally got it back to 27. And then Steve and Jared, they got it back to 28. They found all 28. Nobody thought that was possible, but we did it. And I remember the family of the 28th. They were so grieved, but they were so happy as it's possible to be. They had their boy back. The mother said, "Sir, we have our boy back." What a period of time that was, but we got them all back. So thank you both very much.
I am suspending ads for another 10 minutes. So imagine right here is the only place on YouTube you can catch this commercial free, unless you have YouTube Premium.
And we're working very hard to end the 9th war, the killing and slaughter between Russia and Ukraine, where 25,000 soldiers are dying each and every month. Think of that, 25,000 soldiers are dying a month. A war which would have never happened if I were president. Would have never happened. As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer.
Bomb, 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 Iran. Bomb, 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 Iran. Guys, I'm going to go for a smoke, but I'll still be in the chat.
For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like 32,000 protests. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They shot them and hung them. We stopped them from hanging a lot of them with the threat of serious violence. But this is some terrible people. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. After Midnight Hammer, they were warned to make no future attempts to rebuild their weapons program, and in particular, nuclear weapons. Yet they continue to starting it all over. We wiped it out, and they want to start all over again, and are at this moment again pursuing their sinister ambitions. We are in negotiations with them. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen. And no nation should ever doubt America's resolve. We have the most powerful military on earth. I rebuilt the military in my first term. We're going to continue to do so. Also, we just approved a $1 trillion budget. We have no choice. We have to be strong, because hopefully we will seldom have to use this great power that we built together. It's really called peace through strength, and it's been very, very effective. So thanks to Republicans in Congress, we're investing that record number of dollars, have no choice, in the United States Armed Forces. Also creating a lot of jobs, but we're not even doing it for that reason. Because, as I said, we have more jobs, more people working today than ever before in the history of our country. And NATO countries are friends and allies. They are. They're our friends and they're our allies. Have just agreed, at my very strong request, to pay 5% of GDP for military defense rather than the 2%, which they weren't paying. We were paying for almost all of NATO. Now they're paying 5 as opposed to not paying 3. And getting that 5% was something which everyone said would never be done, could not happen. We got it really easily with one meeting. And big difference between 2% that's not paid. We were paying the freight of many of them. Very few were paid up. Now 5%, then they're paid. And everything we send over to Ukraine is sent through NATO, and they pay us in full. They pay us totally in full. Every branch of our armed forces is setting records for recruitment. This is so exciting. And every service member recently... And every service member recently received a warrior dividend of $1,776. You know, they put it on my desk. We got the money from tariffs and other things, a lot of money we have. We have much more money than people understand. Have to rebuild that program a little bit, but it won't take long. But we got the money, and it was $1,775, and they wanted my approval. And I said, what's the number? $1,775. I said, wait a minute. For $1 more, we can have $1,776. It's going to... I said, we're going to figure that. I never asked anybody if we could afford it. $1 more. I said, $1,776. And I said, that's good. And I'll tell you what, our military, that was 4 months ago, our military, I never see a person in the military that doesn't thank me for it, so we're honored to do it. They deserve it. And we call it 1776. It was great. And we love our military. We love our law enforcement. We love our firemen. You know, the firemen don't get mentioned enough. We love our firemen. We're also...
Is the image glitching out on y'all?
We're also restoring American security and dominance in the Western Hemisphere, acting to secure our national interests and defend our country from violence, drugs, terrorism, and foreign interference. For years, large swaths of territory in our region, including large parts of Mexico, really large parts of Mexico,
stop Rumble.
Have been
That
controlled
might be the
by
culprit.
murderous drug cartels.
Tell me if it gets better.
That's why I designated these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, and I declared illicit fentanyl as a weapon of mass destruction. And with our new military campaign, we have stopped record amounts of drugs coming into our country and virtually stopped it completely coming in by water or sea. You probably noticed that. We very seriously damaged their fishing industry also. Nobody wants to go fishing anymore. We've also taken down one of the most sinister cartel kingpins of all. You saw that yesterday. In January, elite American warriors carried out one of the most complex, spectacular feats of military competence and power in world history. No one's seen anything like it. Foreign leaders, I won't tell you who, called me and they said, very impressive, very impressive. They couldn't believe, they all watched, they saw what happened. This is a different fighting force that we had years ago when we fought to tie. You know, it's a great fighting force. I'm so proud of it. Look at Space Force. Space Force is my baby because we did that. My baby is becoming so important.
The image should get better now. Rumble's just dragging too much on the line.
And America's armed forces overwhelmed all defenses and utterly defeated an enemy, good fighters, to end the reign of outlaw dictator Nicolas Maduro and bring him to face American justice.
Thank you for blocking my view. I didn't want to see her anyway.
And this was an absolutely colossal victory for the security of the United States, and it also opens up a bright new beginning for the people of Venezuela. We're working closely with the new president of Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, to unleash extraordinary economic gains for both of our countries and to bring new hope to those who have suffered so terribly. They really did suffer. With us tonight is Alejandro Gonzalez. She grew up in a tight-knit Venezuelan family and was especially close to her beloved uncle Enrique. But after Enrique ran for office and opposed Maduro, he was kidnapped by Maduro's security forces and thrown into the regime's really infamous prison in Caracas. Alejandro feared she would never see her uncle again. She feared for her own life also. But since the raid, we have worked with the new leadership, and they have ordered the closure of that vile prison and released hundreds of political prisoners already, with more to come. Alejandro, I'm pleased to inform you that not only has your uncle been released, but he is here tonight. We brought him over to celebrate his freedom with you in person. Enrique, please come down.
Hopefully I didn't just boot anybody out. Sorry for the quality, guys. If I booted you out, I'm sorry. It should be better now.
Thank you, Enrique. Have a good time. Nice to have you back, Enrique. There were many heroes on that January raid to capture Maduro. Really great heroes. It was very dangerous. They knew we were coming. They were all set. But the deeds of one warrior that night will live forever in the eternal chronicles of military valor. Chief won mission and was the flight lead in the cockpit of the first helicopter. A big, beautiful, powerful helicopter. It was a massive Chinook carrying, as you can imagine, many, many American warfighters. Wearing the dog tags, his wife Amy had blessed with holy water before he left. She knew it was going to be a rough one. Eric steered the Chinook under the cover of night and descended swiftly upon Maduro's heavily protected military fortress. This was a major military installation, protected by thousands of soldiers and guarded by Russian and Chinese military technology. How did that work out? Not too good. While preparing to land, enemy machine guns fired from every angle, and Eric was hit very badly in the leg and hip, one bullet after another. He absorbed 4 agonizing shots, shredding his leg into numerous pieces. And yet, despite the fact that the use of his legs was vital to successful helicopter flight, legs are the most important part of flying a helicopter. To deliver the many commandos who would capture and detain Maduro was the only thing Eric was thinking about. Then, even as he was gushing blood, which was flowing back down the aisle, helicopter lands at a steep angle. The machine gun stood right in front of him. They were right in front of him, 2 machine gunners who escaped the wrath of the previous planes. Eric maneuvered his helicopter with all of those lives and souls to face the enemy and let his gunners eliminate the threat. Turned the helicopter around so the gunners could take care of business, saving the lives of his fellow warriors from what could have been a catastrophic crash deep in enemy territory. Only after safely landing the helicopter with all the warriors aboard in the exact right spot, which was vital to the mission. We probably would have had to maybe cancel the mission if that didn't happen. Eric told his co-pilot, also wounded, but not as gravely, to take over. I'm about ready to pass out. The success of the entire mission and the lives of his fellow warriors hinge on Eric's ability to take this searing pain. It was unbelievable what's happened to his legs of the bullets and keep on flying and landing, and people knew what was happening. Everybody in the back of the helicopter knew because they saw the blood pouring down the aisle. Chief Warrant Officer Slover is still recovering from his serious wounds, but I'm thrilled to say that he is here tonight with his wife Amy. Eric and Amy, come on in. So we have a surprise for Eric and Amy. In recognition of Eric's actions above and beyond the call of duty, I would now like to ask General Jonathan Braga to present Chief Warrant Officer Slover with our nation's highest military award, the Congressional Medal of Honor.
Wonder how long he spent in the VA getting his leg worked on. Probably didn't spend many time in the VA. I know going to any VA hospital has always been a nightmare. I wonder if they've worked on fixing that at all.
Thank you very much, Eric and Amy. Great to get to know you. I met with them and with a lot of their fellow warriors at Fort Bragg recently. You notice the name Fort Bragg. We have it back. We brought it back. We won the First World War with it, the Second World War with it, and then they decided to change the name. So we changed it back.
Good.
Everybody wanted to change back too. And 10 of Eric's fellow warriors from that incredible night of victory will also be receiving medals at a private ceremony that will soon be held at the White House. And Eric will be there. Thank you. Thank you, Eric. That's a big one. Tonight we've celebrated many truly extraordinary American patriots, but there is one last living legend to honor before we go. He is one more heroic American aviator, Navy fighter pilot. Royce Williams served in World War II, Korea, Vietnam, flying more than 220 missions. In the skies over Korea in 1952, Royce was in the dogfight of a lifetime, legendary dogfight. Flying through blizzard conditions, his squadron was ambushed by 7 Soviet fighter planes. It was his first aerial combat of the war, and despite being massively outnumbered and outgunned, Royce led the takedown of 4 enemy jets and almost destroyed the others, vanquishing his adversaries while taking 263 bullets to his own plane and being seriously hurt. His story was secret for over 50 years. He didn't even want to tell his wife, but the legend grew and grew. But tonight, at 100 years old, this brave Navy captain is finally getting the recognition he deserves. He was a legend long before this evening. Royce, please stand up, and I will ask the First Lady of the United States to present Captain Royce Williams with his Congressional Medal of Honor. Thank you, Royce, and thank you, Eric. I've always wanted the Congressional Medal of Honor, but I was informed I'm not allowed to give it to myself, and I wouldn't know why I'd be taking it, but if they ever open up that law, I will be there with you someday. But you know, that's our highest honor, Congressional Medal of Honor, and that's a big thing, and it's an honor to be in the same room with you. Thank you both very much, Eric. Thank you. Thank you. 250 years is a long time in the life of a nation, but in another sense, it's really a mere moment in the eye of history.
Oh, we're going to get our $250 bill with Trump
on
on
it? We met in the gallery this evening, took their first breaths one century ago, 100 years before that, on July 4th, 1826, the author of the Declaration of Independence, brilliant, Thomas Jefferson, drew his last breath. Just a single long human lifespan separates the giants who declared and won our independence from the heroes who stand among us tonight. Everything our nation has done, everything we have achieved, has been the work of those few great lifetimes. In those brief chapters, Americans built this nation from 13 humble colonies into the pinnacle of human civilization and human freedom, the strongest, wealthiest, most powerful, most successful nation in all of history. Americans ventured out across the daunting and dangerous continent. We carved paths through an unforgiving wilderness, settled a boundless frontier, and tamed the beautiful but very, very dangerous Wild West. From empty marshes and wide open plains, we raised up the world's greatest cities. Together, we mastered the world's mightiest industries and shattered history's monstrous tyrannies. And we liberated millions from the chains of fascism, communism, oppression, and terror. Americans lifted humanity into the skies on the wings of aluminum and steel. And then we launched mankind into the stars on rockets powered by sheer American will and unyielding American pride. We wired the globe with our ingenuity. We captivated the planet with American culture. And now we are pioneering the next great American breakthroughs that will change the entire world. All of this and so much more is the enduring legacy, unmatched glory of the hardworking patriots who built and defended this country and who still carry the hopes and freedoms on all of humanity's backs. For years they were forgotten, betrayed, and cast aside. But that great betrayal is over, and they will never be forgotten again. Because when the world needs courage, daring, vision, and inspiration, it is still turning to America. And when God needs a nation to work his miracles, he knows exactly who to ask. There is no challenge Americans cannot overcome, no frontier too vast for us to conquer, no dream too bold for us to chase, no horizon too distant for us to claim. For our destiny is written by the hand of providence, and these first 250 years were just the beginning. From the rugged border towns of Texas to the heartland villages of Michigan, from the sun-kissed shores of Florida to the endless fields of the Dakotas, and from the historic streets of Philadelphia to right here in our nation's capital, Washington, D.C., the golden age of America is upon us. The revolution that began in 1776 has not ended. It still continues because the flame of liberty and independence still burns in the heart of every American patriot. And our future will be bigger, better, brighter, bolder, and more glorious than ever before. Thank you, God bless you, and God bless America.
All right.
Honestly, I expected a little more. I'm not complaining, but I honestly figured he would
You've been listening to
touch
President
a little
Donald
bit
Trump's
more
State of the Union address.
on markets and whatnot. But speaking of markets, there's something very interesting I would like to show, and that would be, for starters, silver. Silver ran up to almost $90 during all that. Right around here is when the address started. And in addition to that, Bitcoin had a good little run up in around the same time, about an hour before actually. And then when Trump took the stage, it stayed relatively flat. So, before we cut out of here, I said that I would check out any stocks, there's no stocks I can really check out. The market's closed, duh. But as far as crypto is concerned, or anything else anybody wants, we've got a lot of tokens that are doing really well. In fact, the heat map for crypto actually looks pretty damn good over the last 24 hours at least. That's the last 24 hours. This morning, this same map was all red. So to have that much green 12 hours later, that's pretty good. In fact, it's pretty flat for the last hour and the last 4 hours. But yeah, that's a far cry from what it was this morning. So I'm happy to see Bitcoin and silver both doing well and not reacting negatively from Trump's speech. That's good. That's a good sign for tomorrow and how the markets should open, which I will be back bright and early at 9:15-ish for another market open. So, y'all enjoy your night. Thanks for coming. Me love you long time. Right. That's it. Let's have it. And nobody's in.